The title of today's topic is Importance of Juvenile Homes. Introduction. A child is born innocent, and if nourished with tender care and attention, he or she will blossom with faculties physical, mental, moral and spiritual into a person of stature and excellence. On the other hand, noxious surroundings, neglect of basic needs, bad company and other abuses and temptations would spoil the child and likely to turn him a delinquent. Children are the future of a nation, and every society wants children to be healthy, safe, happy, fulfilled and grown into a productive adult in future. Youth nowadays, regardless of gender, social origin or country of residence, face various kinds of pressures as a result of the population explosion, social, economic and political changes, ineffective educational systems, etc. And as a result, the incidence of juvenile delinquency increases, particularly in developing and underdeveloped countries. Young people who, for various reasons, including parental alcoholism, poverty, breakdown of the family, overcrowding, abusive conditions in the home, the growing HIV/AIDS scores, or the death of parents during armed conflicts are orphans or unaccompanied and are without the means of subsistence, housing and other basic necessities, are at greatest risk of falling into juvenile delinquency. The problem of juvenile delinquency is becoming more complicated and universal. History reveals that there was no preferential treatment of children who committed crimes. They were adjudicated and punished alongside of adults. Children were also imprisoned along with adults. No segregated juvenile facilities existed. The young offenders were lodged in the same prison with other hardened and habitual criminals, and thus they mature into criminal adults. It was in the mid-18th century, law reformers brought a radical change in dealing with young offenders. The most significant development in juvenile justice movement is the adoption of the legal principle of parens patriae, which allows the state to assume a parental role and to take custody of a child when he or she becomes delinquent, is abandoned or is in need of care which the natural parents are unable or unwilling to provide. Another important change was the exemption of criminal liability given to young children under the law of crimes. The penal laws of most of the countries have set the age of criminal responsibility at certain age based on the principle that a child below a certain age is incapable of committing a crime. In India, the Indian Penal Code, the main penal law of the country, exempts a child below the age of 7 years from criminal liability. Juveniles aged between 7 to 12 years could be made criminally liable only if they fully understood the nature of their criminal acts. Similarly, the Criminal Procedure Code 1973 leniently treats juveniles, and under Section 27, if a person below the age of 16 years commits an offense other than the one punishable with death or imprisonment for life, he should be awarded lenient punishment depending on his previous history, character, and circumstances which lead him to commit the crime. His sentence can be further commuted for good behavior during the term of his imprisonment. Further, with a view to prevent the juvenile offender from stigmatization and embarrassment, the proceedings instituted against him are neither published nor publicized. A juvenile who has committed an offense is not now called as a delinquent juvenile. Instead, he is called a juvenile in conflict with law, so that the stigma which the word delinquent carries with it in case of juvenile offenders is avoided. Nowadays, the juvenile delinquents were separately tried, and there were not laws in jails along with adult offenders. Thus, the movement of juvenile justice is continuous and progressive process. As the main objectives of juvenile justice are protection, correction, reformation, rehabilitation, and restoration of young offenders and other children in need of care and protection, establishment of juvenile homes become expedient. These homes will provide a place where such children can be supervised, educated, counseled, trained, and reformed. The present law relating to juveniles, namely the Juvenile Justice, Care and Protection of Children Act 2000, hereinafter referred to as the Act, provides for establishment of different juvenile homes such as observation homes, special homes, children's homes, shelter homes, etc. for protection, rehabilitation, and restoration of juveniles. The juvenile justice system in India is essentially rested on the tradition of best interest standards. The Indian law on juvenile justice is based on three basic premises. Number one, young offenders should not be tried, rather they should be corrected. Number two, they should not be punished, but be reformed. Number three, exclusion of juveniles in conflict with law from jurisdiction of court and emphasis on their non-penal treatment through community-based social control agencies. The Act spells out machinery and institutions required for the care, protection, treatment, development, and rehabilitation of various categories of children coming within the purview of juvenile justice system. The Act deals with juveniles in conflict with law and children in need of care and protection by providing for proper care, protection, and treatment, by catering to their developmental needs, and by adopting a child-friendly approach in the adjudication and disposition of matters in the best interest of children and for their ultimate rehabilitation through various institutions established under it. The Act requires state government to create a fund and to exclusively utilize it for the welfare and rehabilitation of juveniles dealt with under it. It also requires the central or state governments to constitute advisory boards to advise the authorities concerned on matters relating to establishment and management of juvenile homes. Mobilization of resources, provisions of facilities for education, training and rehabilitation of children who need care and protection, and juvenile in conflict with law, etc. A juvenile or child is a person who has not completed 18th year of age, and a juvenile in conflict with law is a juvenile who is alleged to have committed an offense and has not completed 18 years of age as on the date of commission of such offense. A juvenile in conflict with law is not dealt with by the courts, but by the Juvenile Justice Board established under the Act. All inquiry and hearing in respect of such juveniles are to be done by the board. The Act provides for establishment of 2 juvenile homes for juveniles in conflict with law, namely 1 observation homes and 2 special homes. The observation homes are required to be established in every district of the country. During the pendency of inquiry or hearing, the juvenile in conflict with law is placed in observation home, in which juveniles are kept in 3 separate groups according to the age, that is 7 to 12 years, 12 to 16 years and 16 to 18 years, giving due consideration to their physical and mental conditions and degree of the offense committed by them. These observation homes are meant for reception of such juveniles. Ordinarily, a juvenile in conflict with law will be granted bail during the pendency of inquiry or hearing, but where the Juvenile Justice Board rejects the bail application of the juvenile in keeping in view of the gravity of the offense and his antecedents, he shall not be remanded to jail custody, but instead sent to observation home or any other safe place. Such a juvenile must be continued to be kept in the observation home even if he has crossed the age limit for juvenile during the pendency of inquiry against him, and he need not be shifted to jail. An observation home may also be used as a special home. On the other hand, special homes are meant for juveniles who are found guilty of an offense. The Juvenile Justice Board may order the placement of a juvenile in a special home A for not less than 2 years, where the age of juvenile is more than 17 years but less than 18 years, and B in case of others until they cross the age limit of 18 years. The object of special homes is to provide for reception, reformation and rehabilitation of the juveniles whose guilt has been proved. These special homes should have various types of services to be provided to such juveniles for their resocialization. The juveniles in special homes are classified into 3 categories according to their age, gravity and nature of the offense, physical and mental health condition of the juveniles, and are kept separately. The Act also contains a special provision in respect of juveniles who have escaped from observation home or special home. Such a juvenile shall be sent back to the home from where the juvenile had escaped, and no proceedings shall be instituted against the child. The Act provides for the establishment of 2 juvenile homes, namely 1 children's homes and 2 shelter homes for the receptions of child in need of care and protection. The prime objective of any children's home and shelter home is restoration of and protection to a child. Here, restoration means restoration of a child to parents or adopted parents or foster parents or guardian or fit person or fit institution. A child in need of care and protection as defined in Section 2 Clause D of the Act means a child who is found without any home, settled place of abode and without means of subsistence, and who is neglected by his parent or guardian, or does not have parent and no one is willing to take care of him, or who is likely to be grossly abused, tortured or exploited, or who is found vulnerable and is likely to be induced into drug abuse or trafficking, or who is a victim of any armed conflict, civil commotion or natural calamity. The Act empowers the state government to constitute child welfare committees for care, protection, treatment, development and rehabilitation of child in need of care and protection. When the Child Welfare Committee receives a report about a child in need of care and protection, the committee or any police officer of Special Juvenile Police Unit or any designated police officer shall hold an inquiry in the prescribed manner, and the committee may pass an order to send the child to the children's home for a speedy inquiry by a social worker or a child welfare officer. After the completion of the inquiry, if the committee is of the opinion that the child has no family or ostensible support, it may allow the child to remain in the children's home or shelter home till suitable rehabilitation is found for him or till he attains the age of 18 years. The shelter homes are established for destitute and neglected children. It functioned as drop-in center for the children in need of urgent support who have been brought to such home. Such homes shall take such steps as are necessary for the restoration of and protection to a child deprived of his family environment. A BORSTAL school is yet another correctional institution for young offenders. The primary objective of BORSTAL school is to ensure care, welfare and rehabilitation of young offenders aged between 16 to 21 years and to keep away from contaminating atmospheres of the jails. The emphasis is given on the education, training, moral influence conducive for their reformation and prevention of crime. The juvenile offenders detained in BORSTAL schools are also provided various vocational trainings. There are at present 21 BORSTAL schools in 10 states of the country, and altogether 1,170 inmates comprising of 967 males and 203 female offenders are housed in these BORSTAL schools as on 31st December 2012. Out of 203 female offenders, the state of Haryana has a total of 190 female inmates, which is alarmingly more than the male inmate population of 115 in its sole BORSTAL school. Now we can come to the conclusion. There is an urgent need for proper monitoring of the working and management of the juvenile homes. It has been generally accepted that children become delinquent by force of circumstances and not by choice. It is possible to reform the antisocial behavior of children by improving the unfavorable surroundings and giving them suitable education and training. Juvenile delinquency is generally a group phenomenon, and therefore effective preventive strategy must take into account not only individual motivation but also group cultural dynamics. The bounden duty to safeguard our children against exploitation, deprivation, and criminalization should not be shifted alone to the state and its agencies. Rather, public support, community cooperation, and non-governmental organizations' participation in dealing with the problem is highly essential. Thank you.